outdoors to any Easter egg hunts and when that next chance of rain will arrive.
Plus, with rain back in the forecast next week, we're bringing you the weather extra on how rising humidity levels, could be playing a part in those increasing rain chances.
Live on your side, First Alert Weather Extra starts right now.
Well, welcome into First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan here with meteorologist Tania Michelle.
Surprise!
And surprise, Tania's still here. The baby hasn't arrived just yet.
Not yet. Hey, listen, this Easter weekend looks great, Lauren.
It is. Perfect weekend to deliver a baby.
Oh, that too.
But I know it's going to be muggy. It's going to be getting muggier. I feel like if I were a mom, I wouldn't want it to be too muggy outside.
No.
Need that fan blowing on you.
We don't want to sweat.
Oh, no, because you're already going to be sweating. First alert for that. But yeah, we finally have Easter weekend upon us. And honestly, it's not looking terrible.
It's really not. Let's talk about the next big thing then, Lauren. Rain chances next week?
Yeah, we got that going on. So once we get past Easter weekend, we are going to be tracking those increasing rain chances going into Monday. But as far as Easter weekend, as we've been saying, it's actually going to be staying pretty dry. We'll have a mostly cloudy sky. So right now things are clear, but as we go into tonight, we are going to be seeing clouds increasing in coverage. But hey, even with some clouds around, I'm just saying it's not looking too shabby with that forecast. So we're talking mid 80s. You know, this time of the year, we're typically supposed to be in the 70s. So to see us in the 80s, it's almost a little hint of summer in the forecast. That humidity isn't up yet, though. I mean, look at it. Beautiful views from Nectar on our First Alert Sky Vision. That sun slowly beginning to creep its way below the horizon, but taking its sweet time because we are gaining daylight hours as we head towards the summer solstice. Looking at temperatures right now, though, we're checking out low to mid 80s. So it's been a warm day, but the difference in this week is the humidity levels have been low. So it's not been feeling too bad outside, which is fitting for Good Friday. However, as we mentioned, we are going to see those humidity levels going up. It has been a little breezy today. Those winds coming in out of the south at about 10 to 15 miles per hour. We have been seeing gusts in some spots, though, getting up to 25 miles per hour. But at least it's a warm breeze, right? So let's look ahead to Easter weekend as we're tracking those clouds coming back in. Remember, we keep stressing, Easter weekend's going to be dry. Here we are at 1 a.m. early Saturday morning, finally showing some clouds beginning to move in from the west. And so even though it's going to be fairly cloudy on Saturday and Sunday, there could still be some breaks of warm sunshine. Now, if you get some sun to break through during the afternoon, that can really ramp up temperatures pretty quickly. So even as we go into Sunday, you see it's still cloudy, it's still mild, but still no chance of rain. So looking good for Easter Sunday. But looking at First Alert AccuTrack right now, this is that next big thing we're tracking, that front off to our northwest. This is what's been causing all of the weather chaos in areas like the Midwest, into the Great Plains and the Rockies. Eventually that same system is moving towards us. It's going to stall out, and that's what's going to enhance our rain chances as we get into next week. So let's track those weather headlines here. Like I mentioned, warm for Easter weekend and fortunately staying dry for Easter Sunday, but we are going to be keeping a close eye on that unsettled pattern next week. We'll be talking more about that coming up in the show, but whatever. And there goes the earring. The earring. We are losing the earring. Maybe the Easter Bunny can bring me a new pair. But let's look ahead to that Easter egg hunting forecast. I'm going to be looking for some earrings. The rest of y'all are going to be looking for some eggs. So here it is. If you're going to be Easter egg hunting, I would say do it in the afternoon after church, after you have that big Easter dinner. Can walk it off a little bit where you're burning those calories as you're looking for the eggs. So as we get into Sunday afternoon, high temperatures will likely be climbing into the mid 80s. Today we got into the mid 80s, but with more clouds around, that's going to prevent us from getting too much warmer than we've already been. Winds will be coming in out of the south at about 10 miles per hour, but again, going to be staying dry. Honestly, even as we look ahead to that chance of rain on Monday, it may not be coming in until Monday afternoon. So we've still got some time to sort that out. Now, this weekend, I know a lot of folks will have that traditional Southern Easter dinner, but maybe you want to fire up the grill too. If you're going to do that Saturday night before the Easter Bunny rolls in, maybe getting him a nice ribeye to thank him for coming and bringing you some eggs. It does look like we're temperatures still going to be nice and dry Saturday night. There are going to be some more clouds still around on Saturday, but as I mentioned, we could see some breaks of sunshine. And if you get those breaks of sunshine late into the afternoon, that can really make it feel steamy outside with temperatures in the mid 80s. And of course, already feels steamy with the grill going. But we'll continue to look at that Easter weekend forecast coming up in a bit. Tania?
You are certainly right, Lauren. That's not all, though. Meteorologist Megan Thomas is going to join us now with other fun events that you and your family and friends can enjoy for the Easter weekend during these beautiful weather conditions.
We're less than 30 minutes away from the first pitch of the Birmingham Barons game against the Biloxi Shuckers. Temperatures for that going to be falling into the low 70s as the sun goes down. Easter weekend, and that means family time. Maybe get everybody together and head up to Pepper Place. The farmers market opens at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning and will last till noon. Temperatures will start in the lower 60s, so a little cooler, but by the afternoon, I'm talking 80 to 85 degrees in spots on Saturday. Earthbound Earthfest is happening at Avondale Brewing Company from 2 to 8 p.m. on Saturday. Temperatures during the day again topping out right around 85 degrees in spots. No risk for rain with a good mix of sun and clouds. And that leads us to Easter Sunday morning. Sunrise services for Resurrection Sunday. Temperatures will be in the 60s and then back into the low 70s by about 9 o'clock as you continue your Easter egg hunts. I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Well, across America and really across the country, now to the Midwest, where they saw severe weather move through the area just yesterday. Check out this video of a possible tornado caught on camera in Nebraska. Keep that severe weather away. Multiple reports of tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds were reported throughout the state, including Ohio. The National Weather Service is expected to assess the damage to determine if any were caused by tornadoes or straight line winds. And we're going to now talk about this. Mike McKnight, he's going to join us to talk about how those severe storms brought impact to those across Nebraska and how they're beginning to clean up after those storms came through.
First, the golf ball sized hail pounded the area. Then came the twister that Josh Havron saw passing close by.
It was twisting around right there, full of dirt, just like you see in the movies. Yeah, I ran down and just stood in the mechanical room for a minute, and when the ears got done popping, I knew it was done.
The tornado just missed the Airbnb he's renting, but the building next to it has been destroyed. Inside was a pickup and a home-based Amazon business packed full of merchandise that Kathy Peterson sells online.
This is what I did for the last 10 years, is build it all the way up to, and I don't think much of it is salvageable, so.
Kathy and her husband Mark own both houses on either side of the destroyed business. Neither home seemed to suffer severe damage, but a neighbor a mile west lost their house. The roof is completely gone. Fire crews warn of down lines, and you can see the path of the tornado. No reports of injuries, and the Petersons' dog rode out the storm on a deck just yards from the passing tornado.
I was in a bit of a panic because my dog, like I said, my dog was outside on the porch and she lived through it. How is a blessing.
Ironically, Josh is renting the house while working for a damage restoration company from Minnesota. Little did he know he would be left with work to do so close to where he's living. Near 70th and Omaha Trace Road, Mike McKnight, First Alert 6.
And now I want to kind of break down where the severe storms are going to be impacting parts of the country as far as this weekend goes. We're looking right here at Friday, and you can see where the severe threat is setting up to our north and our west, parts of St. Louis, Missouri, all the way down to northern Texas. I mean, look at Dallas, Texas, just in that marginal risk. And it actually looks like that severe storm risk gets more enhanced for the Dallas, Texas area as we move into Saturday. We're going to see that chance for severe storms again, not here at home, but to our west, including parts of Arkansas, stretching up, even still parts of St. Louis, Missouri could still be seeing some active weather. And this is a look at Sunday over towards the Memphis, Tennessee area, maybe a stronger storm in the forecast with more of an enhanced risk further to the north. So that's a look at our severe outlook heading into the weekend. Again, we're not tracking severe weather weather, our Easter weekend looks pretty good, so count it as a blessing. Things will be a lot different early next week. As we get more unsettled, we could see some storms in our forecast. Will they be severe? We'll be taking a full look at that 7-day in just a bit. Also, coming up in 30 seconds, we bring you an update to the travel forecast as many of you prepare to spend the Easter weekend with your family and your friends. Plus, we're heading back up to the Rocket City where we learn about the history of the Doppler radar. Don't go anywhere. You're watching First Alert Weather Extra. All righty, everyone. Welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Tania Michelle, and I talked about this earlier, but I'm still having a little bit of FOMO because people are out and about and enjoying the beach and the ocean. It looks like less of a crowd now. Maybe everyone's trying to get some dinner. I don't blame them. But the ocean looks great. There's a little bit of waves out there. It looks like people running on the sand and really getting their feet wet. Temperatures in the mid-70s down at Gulf Shores. Dew points are up there, so it's pretty humid out there. We're talking about 70 degrees for a dew point, and winds are to the east-southeast just around 6 miles per hour. But you can see the breeze. Hey, I'm not mad at an ocean breeze. It makes it more peaceful. If you want to head down to the beach this weekend, take a look at that beach forecast. Saturday, mid to upper 70s. Sunday, mid to upper 70s. Yes, some clouds, but the Gulf looks like it's going to stay dry both days of the Easter holiday weekend. So not a bad time to make a trip down to the beach. It looks like early next week there's not a whole lot of wet weather expected either. Let's talk about that travel forecast for those of you who might be traveling. If you're heading down to the beach again for the weekend, looking good. But if you're going anywhere further north and to the west, you might want to watch out. This is tomorrow showing that system developing across parts of our country. If you're traveling from Texas or anywhere up toward the Ohio Valley and even up to the north and east, you might run into some rain, but also the chance for severe storms. This is nothing to play with. You really want to make sure you have ways to receive weather information. Severe storms cannot be ruled out, and neither can tornadoes. As we bring in Sunday, you can see that there's still a stretch of some rain and storms to the west, including parts of Arkansas and Oklahoma and areas further north. So again, you want to use that WBRC First Alert Weather app. You can get notifications when heavy rain, strong winds, or if there is a severe storm near you. Great tool to have no matter where you're at across the country. Lauren?
Well, Tania, if you're staying home for Easter weekend, you may want to make a trip up to the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, where your Mickey Ferguson continues his journey through the How We Know the Weather exhibit.
Mickey Ferguson with Weather Extra. I'm at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Brand new exhibit here called How We Know the Weather, put on by Barron Institute. And Bob Barron himself has been gracious enough to walk us through this exhibit. We're looking at the progression of radar, Bob, from the early days in the 1950s and 60s when it was used in World War II. Talk about the progression of radar, and you've been a huge part of that.
Well, not this early part, but during the war, back in the 40s, they were trying to look at or discover aircrafts coming across. And were pretty successful by sending out a signal and looking at what bounced back at them. But there were things that got in the way. And it wasn't really until after the war that they realized that was weather. And there were people like us who wanted to know what the weather was.
Sure.
So with the change of frequencies, they actually were able to start looking at weather patterns. So this display kind of covers the initial invention through conventional radar, where we could tell the intensity of a storm and its location by how much signal bounced back.
That's more in the 80s and 90s.
That's correct. And then in the 80s and 90s, the focus was on Doppler radar, which not only measured the amount of returns, but whether the raindrops were moving away or toward the radar. And it gave us our first indication of motion or mesocyclones inside of a storm.
And then we transferred to dual pole after that, correct?
And dual pole is sending out not only a horizontal signal, but a vertical one, so we could actually see the 3 dimensions of what's in the atmosphere. And it's all explained as we go across, as well as what may be the future, phased array radar, which is what's being considered for the future. And a lot of backup graphics to kind of explain the whole thing.
Well, it's all part of this big exhibit, How We Know the Weather, here at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. You got to come check this out, especially if you're a weather geek like we are. Bob, thank you so much. What's coming up next?
Well, how about the storm shelter?
The storm shelter, that's what we'll visit next here at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, How We Know the Weather. For Mickey Ferguson with Bob Barron for Weather Extra.
Thanks, Mickey. Well, good news is you won't need to be getting in your storm shelter this weekend. What we are going to see this weekend, things are going to be quiet. Let's look at how the muggy meter is going to change in the days ahead, though. So it's been really nice this week, warm and dry. We're still going to keep that relatively comfortable air in place Saturday and Sunday, but we really begin to see that humidity ramping up next week. Those southerly winds are really going to help to bring in that moisture off of the Gulf. And oftentimes when you see that warm, muggier air in place, you can get increasing rain chances. And so that's going to be our next big thing we're tracking once we get past Easter weekend. We're looking at the potential for rain coverage over the next 6 days to possibly bring us a good 1 to 2 inches of rain across central Alabama. So dry for your Easter plans, but by Monday, especially it looks like potentially the afternoon hours, we could see some scattered showers and storms developing. Y'all saw that front that was off to our northwest. That's going to be moving our way, and eventually it's just going to stall out. And so it just sits over Alabama and serves as a focal point for showers and storms to develop. So decent rain and thunderstorm coverage Monday and Tuesday. We are going to watch for the possibility of any strong storms and then possibly some lingering rain chances Wednesday and Thursday. Well, don't go anywhere. We continue to talk about that wet weather potential for next week and the science behind tornado formation in this week's Degrees of Science. We'll be right back.
It's time for that Super 7-day forecast. Meteorologist Tania Michelle here, breaking it down for you over the next 7 days so you can make those plans accordingly and properly according to that forecast. Overnight tonight, staying very mild. We're actually not going to hit the low 70s till about 10 p.m. Overnight lows in the 60s heading into your early Saturday morning. Saturday's going to be a very warm afternoon. We're talking about those mid to upper 80s for much of central Alabama. Yes, a few clouds could be possible. Partly cloudy, maybe a period of mostly cloudy skies on and off, but I do think we'll still see some breaks where we will catch a good amount of sunshine. So make sure you're staying hydrated and wearing sunscreen both days of the weekend. Sunday could be a little cloudier, but that Easter forecast looks dry, and that's the one thing that we've been wanting, right? We'll take the clouds, just don't bring the rain. We're seeing early morning temperatures in the 60s. By midday, right around lunchtime, already in the upper 70s, with those late afternoon, early evening hours reaching the low 80s. But we will be cooling off for your Sunday evening down into the 70s and then overnight into the 60s as we bring in early Monday. Now, Monday, we're giving you a first alert for storms being possible, so that's one thing to watch. We're watching a front. It's going to move through, and it's going to bring us the chance for more active weather. So notice as we bring in Sunday, that system's already developed. It's going to be to our west, bringing some showers for parts of Louisiana. But as we look across central Alabama, we're still staying dry Sunday. We don't see the rain and storms until, well, Monday. So it holds off just in time for your holiday festivities this weekend, which is good for those of you with Easter plans. We bring in Monday, could see a strong storm in the forecast. Yes, maybe some gusty winds, maybe some hail, not a major severe threat for our area, but there will be severe storms further north and west throughout the weekend. So if you are traveling, Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, you will want to make sure that you're checking in for forecast updates throughout the weekend, as some active weather will be impacting parts of those areas. We bring in Monday night, and we're still seeing those showers and storms around our area. Again, our rain and storm chance doesn't occur until Monday, and then we're going to see the possibility of that system trying to stall a little bit, bringing us some on and off rain showers, maybe a mix of a storm here or there. Highs still not bad. We're still tracking upper 70s, low 80s throughout next week. The one thing to note is that it's going to be a lot more humid. So as you're making outdoor plans next week in between any of the wet weather, keep in mind it's going to feel a little bit more sticky out there starting Monday through next Friday. But the good news is we're still feeling very comfortable for your Saturday and Sunday tomorrow, and again your Easter Sunday. Look at those highs again next week. Overnight lows still mild in the 60s. We're going to take you beyond the 7-day now with meteorologist Lauren Linehan.
Hey, Tania. Well, we've certainly been feeling that warmer air this week. It's going to stick around for Easter weekend and into next week. Almost a hint of summer in the forecast. And as we look beyond the 7-day, this is looking 6 to 10 days from now. So April 24th through April 28th, almost taking us to the end of the month. Much of the country, apart from the West Coast, seeing the possibility of above average temperatures. And notice it really looks like a possibility where you're seeing that darker red, even a greater chance that we could be seeing that possibility of above average temperatures here in the deep south. Now, how about those precipitation chances? Well, this is still looking 6 to 10 days from now. Towards the end of the month, a good majority of the country could be seeing above average precipitation. Now, I will note for Alabama, it's not the entire state. You notice the southern half of the state looks like near normal chances, which granted, April, May, that's when we get some of our best rainfall that we get all year long here in Alabama. So it looks like potentially across the northern half of our state, which does include us here in central Alabama, a better chance to see some rainfall. So the possibility of that more unsettled pattern even continuing into next weekend and beyond. So here we go into next Saturday at 6 a.m. showing this more unsettled pattern in place where we could see some disturbances coming in that could bring some rain chances, not just on Saturday, but potentially Sunday as well. Here we go into the following Monday. This is April 28th, beginning to show maybe things get a little bit quieter, but then we go into Tuesday, another passing disturbance brings the possibility of some rain. And then here we are at the end of the month on April 30th, that chance for some rain and storms in the forecast, and we're potentially going to be keeping that trend through the start of May. And yes, May is almost here. Oh my goodness. Well, though the weather has been quiet in our neck of the woods this week, it's still been a very active year for tornadoes across the country. In this week's Degrees of Science, meteorologist Brady Taylor speaks with a Texas Tech professor about the science of how tornadoes form.
Well, this week we're talking with Dr. Johannes Dahl from Texas Tech University. Dr. Dahl, you recently wrote an article in the American Meteorological Society about tornado genesis and how these features form. Step us through some of the steps of actually forming a tornado.
Yeah, so the first step usually is that a rotating thunderstorm, the mesocyclone, develops. But at that point, the storm only spins above the ground and not at the ground. And for the tornado, we need spinning air at the surface. And that's been a problem that people have been working on the past 40 years, basically, trying to understand how does this rotation get to the ground. And so what we need is a downdraft. And you can imagine if you pour milk into water, you can see how there's little eddies at the side of the sinking milk plume. And in thunderstorms, something similar happens. We have air sinking. That's the air that contains all the rain and the hail. And at the edge of this sinking mass of air, we get horizontal spinning motion. And it is that spinning motion that is pushed to the ground and reoriented into the vertical as the air approaches the ground. And so then we have spin at the surface, but that's still not the entire story, because now we have to amplify that spin, which we can do by basically using the ice skater effect, right? You have a little bit of spin, and now you have the updraft above that concentrates the air, and then thereby, like an ice skater that draws their arms together, start spinning faster. And that is still not the entire story. That's what we thought was basically the explanation. But now it turns out that this vortex interacts with the surface, with the ground. And it turns out that there is an additional way that spin can be generated, which is then rapidly tilted into the vertical at the base of the tornado. So a lot of different steps have to happen. I'm not sure if that's an easy explanation, but that's the current way we think about this.
And before we send you off into your Friday evening, got to have one final check on that forecast, Tania.
We sure do. Easter weekend looks good. Anything else?
Yeah. Well, it looks like we could see some rain next week.
Yeah.
And some of us may have a baby by next week.
I know. Hopefully some good news.
I hope so. Yeah, as much as I want to see you next week, hopefully you won't be here next week.
Well, I'll see you for your wedding then.
That's true. That's
Period.
true.
All right, guys, have a good evening.